Hey, the beautiful people, it's Dana, bringing another daily dose. This morning I was having a conversation with my husband about something in the news, whatever it was a negative situation, and not that we were focusing on that, but it made me really think that people spend more time focusing on the problems that are going on around them than the solution, which made me think of times in my own life when I was focusing more on the problem than the solution. So let's take that to the next level. Are we focusing on the problem or the problem solver? For me, I focused a lot on the problem more than I did the problem solver, which is God. So if God created me and he knew everything that was going to happen in my life before it even happened, he's the one with the blueprint, then he probably knows what's going to happen in each situation, even if I can't see that. So if I'm focusing on all the negative things around me, then I can't possibly see what it is that he might be trying to show me. And I do think sometimes he doesn't always give you the answers right in front of you or clearly. I think it's a journey that we go on. I share that a lot on this channel. There's a journey that we go on because there's something he's doing inside of us that we don't see that we need for the journey. It might be character that we need. It might be a skill that we need. It might honestly just be endurance and strength and patience for whatever it is that's up ahead. But I know the times that I felt like my life was delayed had a lot more to do with the fact that I was so focused on the negative around me that I couldn't see clearly in front of me at all. It was like a dense fog in front of me. I couldn't see anything in front of me because all I was focused on was the big, thick fog in front of me. So it was blocking my view of God, and it was blocking my view of the possible solutions to the problem. This really does boil down to, do you believe that God is who he says he is? If you are somebody that's watching this right now, and you say that you're a believer, that you are a Christ follower, do you really believe that God is who he says he is? Do you believe that his word is true? I find that that's really the biggest challenge. I talk to so many people that say they're believers or Christians, and they don't look much different than the world. They're still struggling and striving and stressing and worrying about things of this world, and they're not focusing on the truth. Jesus is the truth. He's the way, the truth, and the light. God is the truth. His word is true. Are we focusing on that? Are we focusing on the promises that he says? So if God is somebody who can't lie, and he is who he says he is, and that means I have to believe that his word is true as well. So there's things that his word says, like in Jeremiah 29:11, I have plans for you. My plans are not to harm you. My plans are to give you a hope and a future. Ezekiel 14:14 says that I will fight for you. All you need to do is be still. He says he's going to fight for me. So I don't really need to do anything other than allow him to do whatever he's going to do. He talks about how God is closest to those that are brokenhearted, and he saves those that are crushed in spirit. So then I have to believe that he's doing that. The times that I felt very crushed in spirit, that he was closest to me. He says he will never leave me nor forsake me. He says that all things will be worked out for my good. I could go on and on and on. There's hundreds and hundreds of scriptures that I could share about God's goodness, about his promises, about trusting in him, about believing that he is a man that he shouldn't lie. So when we bring that back to the world, then what we're seeing in the world, does that trump God? So ultimately, the conversation that my husband and I were having is that God has the final say, no matter what it is that we see going on in the world. This world that we live in is temporary. And I don't believe that God manipulates people, and I don't believe that he forces you to do something. I think we come to him from a personal relationship. So the other part of that conversation that we had was, if it was a stranger, and I was asking that stranger to do something, they may not do that for me. But if it was somebody that I had a deep, intimate relationship, they would do that for me. I would hope that they would do that for me. Even if they didn't necessarily agree with what it was that I was asking them to do, if they felt that it was in my best interest, they would do that for me. So I believe it's the same thing with God. If you don't have a personal relationship with him, we're not going to be compelled to make the world a better place, to be a better person, to honor him in our life and our character. Most people are just getting through life, just surviving, just trying to get to the next day. They're not focusing on how can I honor God today. That comes from a deep, personal, surrendered relationship with him. And honestly, that's even hard for most Christians, because that means you've got to step outside of what you're seeing in the natural. You've got to surrender your own wants, needs, will, all of that. I share this a lot, and I've shared it over the last few weeks. I've been talking about this because I think it's something that God has been pressing upon my spirit. So every time I turn the camera on, it's really what Holy Spirit is telling me to say. It's something that I might be going through, or something that I have gone through, and God is saying, now I want you to share this. There's somebody on the other end of this that needs to hear this today. And I do pray before I, record, that this would reach the right people, and that God would use it to bless that person and to encourage that person, and honestly to build up the kingdom. That's really why I do what I do, is to build up God's kingdom. And he's using my story to do that. If I were to focus on all the negative things in my life and I wouldn't have gotten to this place, it would have been a sad way of using my life story. So honestly, I just really want to encourage you that if you're focusing on the negative things, are you focusing on the solution? Because I understand that there's things going on around us that we have no control over. And maybe there's some things you do have control over. So if, let's say it's in your immediate life and there is something you can do, then do it. Do the work. Do whatever is necessary to get yourself past that situation. Let's say it's a financial situation. Instead of stressing and worrying about the fact that you don't have finances, be creative and see what you can do to build that. Okay, I'm not saying that's an easy task, but I am saying that there are creative ways for us to get out of those situations, that we're not all stuck, we're not all victims, unless you choose to partner with that lie from the enemy. God has also given us the ability to create wealth, Deuteronomy 8:18. So he gives us the creative ways to create wealth. And I'm not even talking about riches and abundance and all of that. I'm just talking about to make money, to be able to provide for your family. I also do believe he does want us to have financial wealth, because I believe that the people that are good in this world would do good with that wealth. Just like the people that are, not necessarily good, do bad with that. So I do believe that God wants to bless us abundantly so that we can use it for good. Let's say it's a relationship situation that you're really worried about. Is there something that you could do for yourself? So for me, that was one of the biggest things that I struggled with. But what I didn't do is focus on what I needed to do to change. I only focused on the problem, not the problem solver, which is God. Ultimately, he's the one that's going to solve any marriage problem or friendship problem or even parenting problem that you might have. But he's going to first work in me or you before he's going to change the situation. So when I took my focus off the problem and put it on God, the problem solver, then he actually showed me the areas of my life that really needed to be cleaned up. And that's what I went to work on. And the more I did that, the less I saw those situations through a negative lens. So in the world, when we're looking at the problems of this world, what can we do to change that? Maybe there's nothing we can do physically to do that, but we can always pray. We can always lift up that situation or the people that are responsible, for solving that problem. We can lift those people up in prayer. Okay. And whether you agree with what's going on in our government or not, and again, I'm not using this channel for that, but we still have an obligation to pray for our government, to pray for our world, to pray for our leaders, that they do the right thing. Okay. So I see a lot of people complaining about what's happening right now. We should be lifting those people up in prayer so that they do the right things, that they do make the right decisions that's in the best interest of our world, our country, our communities. And instead of complaining and arguing and yelling and putting it all over social media, which all that does is open the doorway to the enemy anyway. He wants us to be divisive. He wants us to be complaining. He wants us to be negative because it's a distraction away from what God is doing. If he can get us to give up our right, our legal right, our identity, our inheritance in the kingdom and focus on this world, this negative stuff in this world, then he's the one that wins. But at the end of the story, we win. God wins. God will always win in every situation, even if we're not seeing that in the natural. Again, this is a temporary situation. I know I'm kind of going a little bit more deep theologically on this, but it is something that has really made a difference in my life, even as a special needs mom. If I focus so much on what's going on in the negative, if I focus so much on what my child can't do versus what God is going to do through the situation, that's when I found myself in despair, to the point where I even wanted to end my life because I couldn't see past the thick fog. Again, as I'm sharing all of this, it is to build you up, to empower you, to encourage you, to equip you to go out and really seek out being the best version of yourself, because out of that overflow, then everything else gets met. Then we walk in victory. We're already walking in victory. We're partnering with God. So we don't have to focus on all the negative things in this world. I do think we need to be mindful of what's going on. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying we should just be oblivious to all of that. But how much power are we giving to the enemy by focusing and talking about it all the time versus how much attention and focus that we're giving on God so that we can make this world a better place? The conversation definitely put some thought-provoking questions in my mind. And I do want to make sure that I'm always living out the best version of myself and that I'm honoring God in my life. But I certainly do get involved in conversations of this world and things like that, just like anybody else. But I also want to be mindful of that, and that I don't allow the enemy to get a foothold, and I don't focus on giving him that power because he has none. So anyway, I hope this encourages you. Take heart, because God has overcome this world, but he didn't say we weren't going to have troubles in it. But take heart, because he's overcome that. And the God of the universe loves you. And he has a plan for your life, and it is good, I promise you. Focus on what he said he can do, not what you see that is not happening. I love you, and I can't wait for us to be back together again, so have an awesome day.